Alright, I'm going to design a clock here in VCarve Pro 12.009 version. I know the wood I'm using is 16 inches wide, 16 inches tall, and it's 0.618 inches thick. This clock is going to use shotgun shells and 223 shells casings for the numbers. So just understand that going into this. First I'm going to start off with a circle. I know the circle needs to be about 16 inches. I'll change the shape of this later. I'm just using this for the center so I can get everything centered, because obviously everything in the clock needs to be centered. You'll see me change a lot of these parameters as we go through this. So my clock's basically going to kind of look like a Captain America shield. It's going to have a star in the middle, and then it's going to have a circle outside. It's going to be cut out like that, just to kind of give you an idea of the design I'm going for. So first I'm going to start with the very center circle. This is what's used for the clock parts. I've already measured all this, so I know that my center circle needs to be 0.35 inches. I'm just going to center that inside this middle circle. So I just click my little circle I made, and then click the large circle, and then you can use this right here. It'll center object, the one you last selected. So now I'm a circle there. I'm going to create my star. I've already found out what the settings I think work best with this. I'll kind of show you how this works though. You see the star here. Really, this changes how your star looks. That's the best star I could get. If you see, you start changing this, it makes it fatter, makes it skinnier. Kind of do the same thing with this, make it bigger. I felt like 37 inner radius was the best for me. I'm going to center that in my circle. I'll have to move this around some because the star center and the circle center are a little different. You'll see that in a little while. I make some larger circles. I'm just going to Control C, Control V to create another circle, and then I'm going to go in here and transform the outside width of it. So this is how big my clock's going to be total. Now I'm going to just transform the star to kind of fit inside that. That looks pretty good. Just going to make another copy of that circle and then change it to be smaller. I'm going to center that on my middle circle. Looks pretty good. trying to do is get an outside circle that I can use for the clock numbers. Yeah, I accidentally had this one connected whenever I changed my circle size. Alright, that looks pretty good. That's kind of what the clock's going to look like. Now it's time to add the numbers. I'm going to do that using this copy along vectors. So I need a vector to copy my numbers to. I'll make another copy of this one and make it larger. You can just change it here if you want, if you know what you're looking for. I don't know exactly where I want it. I'm trying to get it centered in between these two. Another way to do this is, actually this is probably the best way to do it, if you get rid of these. If you know that's where you want your numbers to, make it a little smaller. And center it again. So that's the vector I want my numbers to be on. So I'll create my border by just copying that and then doing an offset, or you don't have to copy it, but you can do an offset here and offset it. We can try 1 inch, see what that looks like. And then offset minus 1 inch, or sorry. Inside it's probably a little too big, so I'm going to undo both of those, make it 1/2 inch. That's probably a little better. Alright, so let's copy our circles, or our numbers. I know the numbers are 0.37 inches diameter. So I'm going to click this vector, copy along vectors, like that. I'm going to copy circles. I want them to be 0.37 inches. I want 12 copies. And there you go. That puts the circles for the numbers exactly in where you want them. Obviously, clocks have 12 numbers on them, so creating the 12 numbers puts that exactly where you want it. And now I don't need this vector anymore, so I'm going to delete it. Just want to make sure these are centered around the circle still. So I'm going to group these all together, that way they're one object. That way I can select that and then center around this. And they're good, so that wasn't necessary. I just wanted to validate that. This is kind of what the clock will look like. I'm not liking this. I'm going to undo this. I think that's a little too narrow. So I'm going to undo these and make them a little bit bigger. All right, I think that's better. And then do my circles again. So for the 12, 3, 6, and 9, these are going to be a little larger shells. These are going to be 12 gauge shotgun shells. So I know their width is 0.85 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and resize those. 0.85. All right. So I know that I want to do a 90-degree V cut around the star. That way you can actually see where the star goes through these outer circles. So I'm going to have to create a couple vectors here that are overlapping. I'm going to create a copy of this one. And I just Control V to paste it. I'm going to go ahead and send this one layer to a new layer, and I'm going to hide it. That way I'm only working with one here. Uh, Alright, you see what I did there? I evidently had that hidden or unhidden, so I had two stars there. I didn't realize it. So I'm going to undo everything I just did. Just Control Z, Control Z. Alright, now I know I have one star. I'm just going to redo what I just did. Alright, now I need to make sure that I have good vectors, because if you don't, you're going to have issues when you're trying to cut it out. Why did it do that? Actually, it looks like the cut tool did a pretty good job this time. Sometimes this doesn't work how I want it. It looks like it did a pretty good job here. You can see, since my vectors are closed, I can't do join closed vectors. I just want to go and check all these to make sure that everything's good. You can also use this right here, vector validator. It'll show you any vector it's used, so I'm good. Usually I have more issues with that when I'm doing that. I'll have to go in through and clean them up. But looks pretty good here. So now I'm going to add that layer back with the other star. Actually, I'll go ahead and group all these together. That way they're all one piece. Now I get my star there. Another thing, I know the clock movement piece is 2.4 inches wide, so I'm gonna put a cut here so I can turn this over and cut the back side for the clock. I'm just going to create a rectangle here. I'm going to make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it 2.6 inches because I don't really care if it, on the back side, if it's larger. I just want to make sure it fits. Yeah, I'm going to give it a little circle just to make it look better. Create it. So here's my square for the clock parts in the back. I'm just going to center it on the circle. Now, I know that this does not get cut out on the front. After I cut this out, I'm going to have to turn it over and cut it on the back. That's pretty much the clock. We can go through setting our tool paths. So I know I'm going to create a profile on this one. And I've already done this, so you can see it's saving my old values. 1/4 inch downcut spiral. I'm doing outside and calculate. All right. Cut my circles. I'm doing inside on these. It's going to be the same settings. And this is the 90-degree. I'm going to do a profile on choose my 90-degree V-bit. I'm just going to cut it 0.1. Calculate. So it kind of like that. I'm going to change this one. Cutting these little circles like this, you're going to get that once it cuts, it's going to break this off, and there's a chance it's going to shoot that little piece off, and it may make you slip belts depending on what your CNC machine is. I have a Quantum Max, BobsCNC Quantum Max. I've seen these little pieces here get stuck and cause you to slip belts. So I'm going to change that to a pocket. Cuts all the way through, 1/4 inch. All right. That's much better. And then create my pocket for this one. I'm just going to cut this at 0.4. And there's your clock. Obviously the pocket too is going to be on the back side, not the front side.